The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of Spaced Out Radio or Spaced Out Radio Limited is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced?
Stop right there!
From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you, listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
They let us play with all our toys, they let us think that we're big boys, they let us make a lot of noise, but women rule the world. They let us think we're Superman.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on iTunes and TuneIn. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. I will stop till I reach the top just to be there with you.
Dave, oh Dave. Are you playing with Bigfoot and aliens again?
Dad, you gotta stop haunting the ghost. It's scaring them.
Alright, seriously, put down the pointy sticks.
Okay! Game on! Game on! Game on!
The password is...
Alright.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio. Mr. Bumblefoot, Dave is ready for liftoff.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you.
Seriously, Dave? Really? Aren't you a little old for a tinfoil hat?
Hello, Toby. Bye-bye. Love you. Bye-bye.
Please take your seat about it. We will be able to prepare for pickup. Start. 2, 1. Boost ignition and liftoff.
I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall. The deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, and it's great to have you along for the ride. on this Friday, November 17th, Saturday, November 18th. If you're on the East Coast or across the pond, hope you had a great day and night. We are live right here in the Great White North on top of the mountains of central British Columbia as we are here for your listening needs 7 days a week. We welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of the Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live on spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Like our music, get your horns up for Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, currently of Art of Anarchy and Sons of Apollo. Bumblefoot is the official music of SOR. Now, we're all over social media. You could do me a favor. And what I need you to do is follow us on Twitter, at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio. No longer Spaced Out Radio Show, so if you're signed up for that one, we're moving our archives over, and that's where you're going to want to be. Listen to us on iHeartRadio in the United States, TalkStream Live, tune us in on TuneIn, download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, and we're just in the process of revamping our Patreon account. You can head over to patreon.com, and for as low as $1 a month, you can become a patron of SOR as well. We have 2 chat rooms for you to take part in now. If you want to get questions into this show for our guest, you got to do me a favor. You got to sign in to either Spreaker or the SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook. Or if you're on Twitter, just go to hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I will get to your questions and comments in there as well. Now, if you head to our website for $5 a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. You can also shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We have t-shirts, stickers, posters for your liking. We have the Encounter Online dealing with everything paranormal, courtesy of our editors, Eric Markham and Everett Themer. Check out my latest blog there as well. And if you've had an experience you can't explain, fill out an SOR Sightlines report. We also have great video viewing from Tim Doyle's UFO Seekers and Leslie Mitchell Clark's Contact TV. So right now, this is the dilemma I am in. I have no idea where this show is going to go tonight. The reason why is our guest tonight, Soren Korsgaard, he's over in Denmark. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning there, 6 o'clock in the morning. I talked to him like an hour ago, and now he's not picking up his Skype. We were originally going to talk about the Zodiac Killer, so I am efforting right now in order to try and get a hold of him via Skype, and right now it's not working. So, this is what we're going to do. While we wait for Soren to come on in, we're going to talk about some of these hot button topics that we've been talking before. So if you're in one of the chat rooms right now, what I would love for you to do is I would love for you to do me a favor, and I'd love for you to post a topic. That's the way we're going to do it. That's the way we're going to do it right now while we wait for Soren to come on in. You know, when you're calling in from Europe, that time change, it's the time we were on at 9 p.m. Pacific. I mean, you think it's late for you guys on the East Coast, where it's like 3 hours. You know, 3 hours difference. It's just after midnight on the East Coast. So, think about it. Add another 6 to 7 hours to head over to Denmark. It is a little different, shall we say. You know, like I said, I talked to him like 90 minutes ago. And he's like, maybe I cursed him. Maybe that's what I did, is I cursed him because I literally said, now, don't fall back asleep. He's like, no, I won't fall back asleep. Well, 90 minutes is a long time. 90 minutes is a long time. Actually, he's calling in right now, so this is good. This is very, very good. He's back up. We'll call in Soren here. See, the problem is with this Skype system that we use, because I'm on Revolution Radio, I cannot update my Skype. And because I cannot update my Skype, it doesn't allow me to take calls in. So what I have to do now is I have to wait for Soren to actually hang up on his Skype end so then I can call him back. My goodness. The difficulties of technology to get a show going. But it's all good. We're going to make it happen. And I'm calling in Soren right now. So hopefully he'll be able to come on in. Let's see. Let's see if he'll answer. Probably not, since he's given me a call. I wonder what's going to happen here. This is the $1 million question right now. Do you think he's going to pick up? I don't know. I really don't know. Hi, Debbie. How you doing tonight? Craig, Rachel, Shar. Hi, Shar. I haven't had time to type it in to the chat room yet, but I will. So I'm going to try this again. Because he's excited about being on the show. He's actually the one who approached us and said, hey, I heard your last show you did on the Zodiac killer. I've got a book out about it. Would love to do it. So that's what we are trying to effort right now. If you're in the SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook, hi Bob. That's H-I-G-H Bob. Paula. Bill Cardwell, number 1, with the number 1 hot tub. Joyce, Gail, good to see you. I know Mike's hiding in there as well. All right, so he just messaged me. I'm ready when you are. All right, well, let's see. Why aren't you picking up then? So we're going to try this again. Hold on. All right, I'm just going to type a little note here to him that says, I'm going to ring you in now. The beauty of having a computer right at your fingertips. So we're going to call him in. Everybody's like waiting on the edge of their seats. Hey, Kevin and Kevin's beard. How you doing? 2 separate entities right there. If you haven't been in the Spreaker chat room to check out Kevin's beard in his photo, it's an impressive beard. Soren, are you there? I am not hearing you, my friend. Do you have your microphone on mute? No. We're still trying to ring in. All right. So we're just waiting for Soren to get things going here. While we're waiting for him, I do want to talk about a little bit about this week. We had some really cool topics, from shadow people to demonology. We talked about ghost tours, and last night we talked about mass shootings with Jamie Sexton, which got up to number 5 on TalkStream Live last night, which was kind of cool. You know, with this show, because we are in the process of trying to get a little bit bigger and a little bit better every single day, we are pushing very, very hard right now in order to make things happen. And that includes doing a little bit more true crime, doing a little bit more of other topics that maybe we haven't gone into before. And it kind of excites me because there are so many topics that we just haven't done on this show. And it amazes me how we are able to, rotate through so many different people. And I've been moving the archives over to our brand new channel, Spaced Out Radio. And it's one of those things where when you look at them, it's amazing how many people we have interviewed over time. It is something that is, to me, very, very impressive, because I looked and I'm like, wow, I remember that person, or I remember that person. And it's like, wow, that's somebody we need to have back on. Like today, I was scrolling through and I was thinking of a couple of Brits who've been on this show, both Gary Heseltine and Simon Entwistle. Heseltine has a website over in Britain about police officers who can privately talk about their UFO and alien experiences that have caught them off guard. And same as, with Simon Entwistle, who came in, and if you didn't listen to that show, I would say go to the Spaced Out Radio archives. Make sure you hit subscribe and listen to that episode, because I've never had anybody before or since literally shut down the chat rooms, because everybody was so intent on listening to Simon speak, and the way he was so able to tell the story of Jack the Ripper. It was absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So it's pretty amazing, to say the least, when we hear a person like that speak. Simon Entwistle was the guy who talked about Jack the Ripper, Shar. So Adam is asking, have you ever interviewed a gnome? Really? No. Why would I interview a gnome? But I do have to tell you a story. Those in the Spreaker chat room who know Bazooka Joe and his wife Bazookette, I get a message from them, because they literally live about 2 miles from me. Very good people. They live about 2 miles from me. And Soren, if you're listening, I am trying to get a hold of you on Skype right now. I am trying to get a hold of you on Skype. So make sure you answer, because you're not answering right now. And we kind of need you. Now, I'm looking at this picture of Soren on his Skype. He's got good hair. He's got very good hair. Not going to lie. I don't know why we're having troubles with this, but nonetheless. So, Bazooka Joe and Bazookette, well, mainly Bazooka Joe, knows about the gnomes I hate. Because those little things scare me. And after our last ghost hunt that we did at the local museum, and both Bazooka Joe and his wife, Bazookette, helped me out on the tour, they literally have gnomes up in their kitchen. And of course, they put me in the seat at their kitchen table looking at these damn gnomes. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. So, anyhow, he sends me a message today stating that... Okay, 1 second. Simon, or Sword, if you're listening in, you cannot call me in on Skype. It's not going to work. I have to be able to call you, my friend. So I notice you're trying to call me on Skype right now. I have to call. So I'm going to tell you what I'm typing, because I talk when I type. I said, you can't call me in. I have to call you into the show, period. Because I'm all about punctuation. You need to turn your Skype. What's that little green button called? I believe it's available to online. Online. So he is trying to effort us. So this is what we're waiting for. So anyways, Bazooka Joe sends me a message on Facebook Messenger earlier before the show. And he literally states that he has a gnome hiding on my wood pile outside my window here at SOR headquarters. So literally, what happened is I grabbed my flashlight because it's dark out there. Grab my flashlight, and I am searching all around the window looking for this gnome. So apparently he was just teasing me about it. It's not actually there. But that was enough to give me a little bit of a heart attack. It honestly was. Enough to give me a little bit of a heart attack. Not a fan of the gnomes. Really not a fan. They're creepy little bastards. They really are. Creepy, creepy, creepy little bastards. And all of you just like to rub it in. Kevin is asking, Dave, what is the next blog? You know, I write my blog every Saturday for spacedoutradio.com. And if you've never read it, hopefully you take the time to do so, because, you know, I really, really struggle writing my blogs, and I'll tell you why I do. It's because I think we may have Soren. Soren, are you there? No, we don't have him yet. Let's see if he'll call me on my phone and we'll jimmy something up. Call me on my cell phone. We'll jimmy something up here. So let me just do this, because we're going to have to mute all the tabs. And then we'll get this thing going. How about that? We'll make it work, people. I'm that guy. So, anyways, about my blog. I end up choosing my blog usually on Saturday, and after the show, like tonight on Friday, what I'll end up doing is I'll end up having a little bit of a stress. I'm wondering what I'm going to write about, because the last two times were kind of easy. It was about the paranormal code and whether or not people should charge in the paranormal. But it's hard doing it because you don't want to make it the same as what is on this show. You want to make it a little bit different than what everybody else is doing. And with me, the way I was trained to write was, it's not about you. You're not implementing yourself in the story. And I'm really struggling with that right now, to be honest. Really struggling with that. Because I am so used to writing about the story. And with a blog type format, it's more opinionated than what a regular story would be. And I realized that I don't really like writing like that. You know, I've written a few articles recently. If you haven't read them, I highly suggest you do, is go to spacedoutradio.com and read in on the Encounter Online, our news section, where I've been writing some articles on there for our news section. And it's funny because it's kind of exciting to bring back that old style of journalism. You know? It really is. To kind of dig into a story, which is so much different than writing a blog. So maybe I'll pick out a topic for tomorrow. I don't know. What do you guys want me to write about? I'll leave it up to you. I don't mind. Choose a topic. All you got to do is fire it up. Fire it up. I haven't had any experiences lately, so that's a little bit out. I haven't had much in the way of anything happen lately. Damn it, I'm boring. I live a boring life. I'm almost in tears now thinking about that. Almost in tears. I'm still waiting for Soren to give my phone a ring here. I'm all set up. Michael McNeil's like, write about gnomes, Dave. Hell no. Hell no. I will not write about gnomes. Debbie's like, basic rule, Dave. Write about what interests you. Yes. Right now, the only thing that has been interesting me lately is sleep. Something that I have not got enough of. Definitely not got enough of. Let me see if he has emailed me. All right. No, he has not emailed me. Darn it. Damn it, Jim. This is where we get one of those damn it, Jim moments. Actually, he did email me. What did he say? We'll get to it right here momentarily. I tried calling. Is everything all right? All right. Do you guys want to write an email with me? Let's quickly write an email. Yes, I cannot have you call in because of my Skype setup to the studio. Please call my cell phone number and we will get things going. Now that's the beautiful part of being able to type with two hands rather than that one key type thing. See, if I answer this on my phone, I think it'll cut out the Revolution Radio Studio. So we've sent that off. Hopefully he checks his email here. We're almost there. We're almost there. I hope you don't mind me rambling. I really hope you don't mind me rambling. Bill Cardwell with a damn it, Jim, in the SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook, which is cool. Good evening, everybody. You see, usually I at this time I've given everybody my hellos, and I feel kind of guilty that I haven't been able to type my hellos to everybody, because that's one of the things I like to do on this show. I like to recognize the audience. I really do. Because it's kind of cool. So now we've got to figure out how long it's going to take him to get that email. Hopefully he's getting it right now. We'll see it as soon as my phone rings. Hello, Marie. Hello, Teresa. Hello, Craig. So my blog for tomorrow. I could do it on journalism. I'll tell you what I did do. I actually sent out a tweet yesterday to Tom DeLonge, because one of his tweets stated that there's some big news in the media coming towards the To the Stars Academy. So since his PR person has not got back to me in 1 month and 6 days since I sent my media request to Mr. DeLonge and his To the Stars Academy, and since they seem to be doing a rotation through a couple of night shows, as well as one reporter from Huffington Post and one reporter named Linda Moulton Howe and nobody else, I asked him point blank, I said, when are you going to open up to the media? I said, why are you being so secretive and basically only having a certain amount of media answer your questions? I said, I don't think that's very fair. Somebody actually responded to me and said, is this about not getting Tom on Spaced Out Radio? And I said, no. I said, no, it's not at all about not getting Tom DeLonge on Spaced Out Radio. I said, what it is about is it's about taking responsibility that you announced this whole thing, how it's going to change the world, and you're dodging the media. See, that's what I hate about this field. I really do. This isn't a music album where you only have to talk to MTV or Rolling Stone magazine or GQ. Playboy if you're lucky. You know, this is the way media works. The way media works is when you present a story to the media and you bring something out in public, you have to be responsible and accountable to the remainder of the media out there who are trying to get a hold of you for an interview. Even if you decline the interview request, you at least make the attempt to get a hold of them. And the fact that Mr. DeLong is only talking to about 4 different media sources, I'm not sore about that, but I think it's BS that here he is trying to get your money to invest a minimum of $200 into his campaign, and he's refusing to go on media shows and be interviewed about it. He's only done a handful. He's done the other nightly show that competes against us. He's done Linda Moulton Howe. He's done Joe Rogan. And he's done Huffington Post. As a listener, if you guys want, okay, and you've heard me preach this a number of times on this show, if you guys want to have this field open up and be more open to you. All right, I just got an email back. He's like, please get on Skype. 1 second, I got to email him back. Soren, here, you can type it with me. Soren, you need to make yourself available and show that you are online on Skype before I can add you to the phone call, to the phone conversation in the studio, or call my phone number so I can patch you through the number we talked on yesterday. All right. We're still efforting Soren Korsgaard here. So anyways, all of you should feel pissed off that all of those involved with the To the Stars campaign are not opening up to the media. And this is something a lot of people have said to me, you know, just let it go. Just let it go. It's a BS thing anyways. That's the opinion of other people. My opinion is, no. I'm a journalist. We have an audience of about 140,000 people a night with all of our syndications combined. I am not about to let it go. And in fact, coming next Thursday, Grant Cameron, who has been highly critical of the Tom DeLonge campaign, is going to get a hold of us, and we're going to talk about that subject as well. We're going to talk about why DeLonge is hiding from the media. And he is hiding from people, not only this show, but people like Grant Cameron, who have a vested interest in the Disclosure Project and anything to do with UFOs. And to me, Grant is one of the premier researchers in this field. And DeLonge is dodging everybody. The only reason why you dodge something or someone is if you have something to hide. Would you all agree? Would you all agree? I would. I would totally agree with you. And I would agree with that statement. Please correct me if you think I'm wrong. I would be curious to see what you think. Unless, he's hiding something. And that's a tough one. Because he is going on many different topics regarding UFOs. Saying they're bad, they're ugly, they're terrible, they're evil. We don't want the aliens here. Really? Anybody who thinks that extraterrestrials are going to take over mankind, and they're evil, and they're nasty, and they're dirty, and they're here to ruin mankind, give your head a shake. And I'll explain why. The idea behind extraterrestrials coming to this planet has been recorded for years. You can even look at some paintings of Christ that have a picture of a UFO on them. But people like DeLong and the fearmongers out there, they're telling you, oh, they're evil. They're evil. They're out to get us. They're here to take over our planet. If these aliens have been coming here for centuries, and let's say they have because it has been recorded throughout history, or if you want to tighten things up a bit, let's go back the last 70, 80 years. Why would they wait until we had nuclear weapons before they're like, now we'll take them over. They're armed. They're armed. Now we'll take them over. Now's a good time. Never mind the fact when the most popular weapons was a musket and a bow and arrow. We'll wait until they got nukes. That's the time we're going to take them over. Really, people, if you are scared about aliens, and I'm not saying that there's no bad species out there, because there are. Okay? I've had a couple of doozies when I've been taken myself. Okay? But if you're going to buy into the fear-mongering of extraterrestrials, that they are all bad and that they're all here to eat us or enslave us or kill off mankind, I want you to think about this. Why didn't they do it when we were unarmed? Why didn't they do it when the most powerful weapon on the planet was a musket? Or a bow and arrow? Or a spear? Or a mace? Why would they wait until we could put nuclear weapons in space if they're not already there? Does it make sense? Yes, let's wait until the competition is somewhat armed with primitive nuclear weapons before we try and take them over. Like, is anybody else giving their head a shake on that? I swear, sometimes it feels like I'm in Groundhog Day. One second here. He's like, I'm trying to call you on Skype. You cannot call me on Skype. I have to call you on Skype. But you need to show yourself, your profile, as being online before I can connect with you. I'm trying here, guys. I'm trying. We are efforting. Let's just try it. I don't know if this will work. Soren, can you hear us? Yeah, see, it's going to fail every time. Because we got things going on Revolution Radio. I'll tell you, ever since Microsoft messed with Skype, it is a horrific system. It's an absolute horrific system. It really is. The problem is with the Spreaker program that we use, and Spreaker to me is the best one out there for what we do. Unfortunately, they are tied to Skype. See, what would normally happen before Microsoft took over, and you know, everyone knows that Microsoft is very famous for fixing things that aren't broken. Look at how many times they've tinkered with Windows. Microsoft Word. Should be a simple program, right? Well, they bought Skype, and the first thing they did was they eliminated the little button that says Add to Group Call. So now everybody who is on Spreaker, if they're using the Studio app like we are, cannot add calls. Because Microsoft thought, oh, let's get rid of that feature. Let's get rid of that one. That's not a good one. It's ridiculous. Worst part about it is I pay for Skype. So that way I can call anywhere in North America for free. And I still can't do group calls. So now, if you want to do a group call, you literally have to put the other person on hold, answer the next call, and then somehow you got to try and configure them together, rather than just that little button that says Add to Group Call. No, because nobody wants to group call on Skype. Right, Microsoft? Right? So, I'm really surprised that as I'm rambling here, nobody has given any topics to talk about. This is where I feel the old stress line coming up. This is where radio gets painful. As I wait, I feel like I need to break into song or something. What does that little white button mean? Unless they updated Skype again. I'm going to have to check. Such a wonderful system. You know, the worst part about radio is dead air. This is definitely one of those shows that is not going in the record books. No, we're fine there. Everett is asking, Dave, you've never mentioned them, but have you ever experienced sleep paralysis since you brought that up earlier? No. No. I have never had sleep paralysis. Probably the freakiest thing that's ever happened to me while I'm sleeping is about a year ago, I actually remember, woke up, something was grabbing my ankle, pulled the blankets off my foot and grabbed my ankle and started trying to pull on my leg. And I remember saying, "Hey, do you mind? I'm trying to sleep here, man." And it kind of stopped. No, Bill Cardwell, we are not talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Nobody wants to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Mr. Skeptic on Twitter is like, call the other show, see what they're up to. No. And if you read the cryptic post that host put on her Facebook today, you have to wonder how much longer that show is going to be in existence. I wish her well. Everybody wants to know about gnomes. King Wiener at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Go for it. Tell us about your deepest fears. Gnomes, man. Gnomes and sharks. Old Davy isn't going into the ocean. Dave is not going into the ocean. I just refuse. No way, man. I'm a meal. I am an absolute meal. So no, I'm not going into the ocean. There's a lot of things that can eat you in the ocean. And I just don't find that very, very interesting. I don't find the idea very fun. Elizabeth, did you read the story about Harvard finding the physical location of where consciousness resides in the body or brainstem? Just where is your implant again, Dave? My implant is right where the skull meets. It's about an inch above where the skull meets the spine. That's where my implant. And no, I didn't read the Harvard study. I don't have time. That's the problem with this show. I used to love reading. I don't have time. Sunrise, here's an interesting comment. Sunrise says, Dave, after last night's show, I got an ad for Miss Vicky's chips. Now that's interesting. That's very interesting. That's very interesting indeed. That trips me out. And I realize it's in the fine print, okay? I do realize it's in the fine print that, they'll allow access to certain things by saying yes to sign up for programs like Facebook or whatever. But the fact that you got that ad, that is absolutely interesting. Absolutely interesting. Miss Vicky's chips, really? Elizabeth is asking, do we think Miss Vicky is a screen memory for Carl? I highly doubt it. No, Gail, I cannot call Soren on the phone because he's in Europe. We are emailing each other as we speak. Okay, guys, I am trying to get him and run a show at the same time here. I'm trying my best right now. He's trying his best on his end. So, that is all good. You pick the topic, we're going to talk about it. Sunrise says, we never bought Miss Vicky's chips, and she was listening, or they were listening to the show through headphones. Very interesting. Very interesting. That still trips me out. The bag they couldn't even see. Like, yes, I didn't have the sticky parts on my cameras, so like both my laptops that I use for the show have cameras on them, and I've covered them up since. It's terrible. It's terrible. We're still efforting to try and get Soren Korsgaard in for tonight's show. So I am waiting for him to turn his Skype on, which he doesn't seem to be doing. See, when you show offline, like he is on his end right now, it's not going to pick up my phone call. So I'm ringing him again to see if this will work. We got about 5.5 minutes before we're going to go to break anyways. Make sure you check out our brand new YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio. And subscribe to it if you haven't already. It'll be really easy to find once we have 100 subscribers. So if you're listening to this show and you haven't found it yet, we are efforting. We are going to put it on the front page of our website. So that way it's easy for you. But the minute we get 100 subscribers, then the channel for it goes to youtube.com/spacedoutradio. So it'll be nice and simple for you. And if you've noticed on our website, and I know a few of you have, because if you're asking for the blog, you will notice that we have really been pushing hard lately the Encounter Online. That's our news section, because one of the things that we decided with this program was when we were going to build this program, we wanted to add a news section as well. And now that we've actually been able to put a lot of effort into creating stories and everything led by Everett, and we have a number of people helping out. I write a couple of stories. Our friend, good friend of this show, Eric Markham, the preacher, has been writing some blogs as well. We've been adding writers slowly but surely. It's really, really starting to pick up. So if you want to write for the Encounter, because we are looking for writers right now, all you have to do is hit up Everett Themer. It's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. And you know what? I'm glad, because I kind of got the urge a couple of weeks ago to actually start writing again. And I haven't written any stories in months. Years, actually, to be honest. Absolutely. Years. And to be able to actually put the fingers onto the keyboard and start writing again, that was phenomenal. That was absolutely phenomenal. It's amazing how quickly you gain back the love of writing. Because writing, to me, is a lost art of communication. And I'll tell you, as technical as things are going, people, it will really suck the day that newspapers end. Now, I know they've been saying for like the last 20 years that, the newspapers are a dying breed and everybody's going online, and news is a dying breed because everybody's blogging and vlogging and, putting everything to social media. Who needs journalism anymore when you can have it right up front? I disagree with that. I absolutely disagree with that. I would say the media is a little bit of a mess right now. Especially in the mainstream media. It really is. I mean, when your entire field is deemed fake news, there's a problem. A big-time problem. I did one story for the Encounter. I believe it's up there right now. Did anybody see the Leonardo da Vinci painting that just sold for $450 million yesterday? It's the only Da Vinci painting that is still privately owned and not in a museum. $450 million for a painting. The Russian who sold it bought it for $127 million in 2013. That's nice profit. Not going to lie. That is nice profit. Bought it for $137 million or $27 million, whatever it was, and you sell it for $450 with $50 million going to Christie's auction house? That's incredible. We're going to get more. We're going to try and hook up with Soren Korsgaard here in hour number 2 on Spaced Out Radio. I still want to talk the Zodiac killer. I'll see what's up after this. That's why we got a long break coming up. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spacedoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spacedoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over Spaced Out Radio Night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4 Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
Want a place to share your experiences without feeling judged? We have the place for you. If you've experienced sightings or contact with ETs, ghosts, cryptids, or UFOs, and you'd like someone to confidentially look into the matter, just fill out an SOR Sightlines report. Our goal is to help you get the answers you need to the experiences you've had with our professional team of researchers. Your information stays 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines report. Fill out your experience today only at spacedoutradio.com.
Psychic Sundays, spiritual communication, ET contact, Sasquatch in your backyard. We will have it all on Cosmic Passport with me, Elizabeth Anglin. Each Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at spacedoutradio.com, I will take you on a journey of enlightenment. The goal is learning from the soul on out. We'd love it if you joined our experience. Cosmic Passport, heard Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest, from Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
Welcome to Spaced Out Saturdays with me, Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange. Our weekly feature on spacedoutradio.com will take you around the world discussing everything from the paranormal to the latest conspiracies from the top guests in their fields. We won't leave any story uncovered. Spaced Out Saturdays at spacedoutradio.com starting 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, it's Spaced Out Saturdays. Dave Cruz will be back after a week's hiatus as he spent some time with the family last week. He gets going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com with Spaced Out Saturdays. Then, Sunday, we have Elizabeth Anglin back in SOR headquarters, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time as well for Cosmic Passport. Everything can be found at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Good to have you with us as well. We are also live on KTLK, The Fringe.fm, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Deep Nosophist. Deep Nosophist is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. You can use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect live with me during the show as well. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also follow us on Facebook at the SOR Space Travelers Group. That's where we have live chat going on during the show as well. You can also definitely look us up on Instagram. Dave Scott, SOR. Our brand new YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio, no longer Spaced Out Radio Show, so you can unsubscribe to that one, subscribe to the new one. I would appreciate that. We are in the process of moving our archives over, which is fantastic. And, of course, you can listen to us on iHeartRadio in the United States, TalkStream Live, tune us in on TuneIn, download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. You can also read The Encounter online, where we have a bunch of brand new, updated news that really doesn't get a lot of play, but we're researching it just for you, which we appreciate. You can also rock out to some Bumblefoot, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, and also check it out, because we got some great videos from UFO Seekers and Contact TV as well. Hour number 2, I cannot get a hold of Soren Korsgaard. We're having a little bit of issues with the phone lines. So from the Encounter Online, I brought in Everett Themer. Everett, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Not a problem. You know, I really feel bad because Soren and I talked literally an hour and a half before the show. Poor guy got up at like 4:30 in the morning, so that way he didn't sound groggy for our audience. And now we're having all this issue with Skype and the phone lines and everything. So I do apologize to our audience, but we got to keep the show going. And Mr. Themer, you're always on short notice. Appreciate that.
I'm always glad to be here. I'm always surprised when you call.
Yes, I'm sure you are, because it happens so infrequently.
It does, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So I figure what we'll do now, because we're kind of changing on the fly here. You know,
and we're good at that.
Yeah, well, sometimes you have to. I've been looking for ideas from our people in our chat rooms in regards to what I should write about our blogs. And I don't know. Outside of Gnomes or the Canadian Football League, there really is no other topics. We were going to be talking about the Zodiac Killer tonight.
Well, you kind of ignored it, but I did throw out the idea of sleep paralysis, a blog on that. Have you explored that a little bit? I know you've never experienced it, so to speak, but it's one of those things that's sort of an interesting topic, and depending on how somebody experiences it, it can affect and relate to all kinds of paranormal experiences. And with the writing that you've done, the news stories that you've done, I would like to see you kind of sharpen that pencil and go down a road like that and explore it a little bit.
Yes, I understand with what you're going at. Why don't you do that? Why don't you write about that?
I have no idea how to write things.
Yeah, me either. So with the Encounter Online, because we do have some stories, I figured, what we'll do in order to get our audience understanding with what we're doing here is we'll go through some of the stories that we have brought up. You brought up a story about a company issues a public apology after a train leaves a Tokyo station too early, and it upset the passengers. What's that all about?
The Japanese culture is almost as polite as you Canadians, aren't they? That's what it is. A company apologized because a commuter train left the station 20 seconds early. I would love to get on a train and have it leave on time, much less early. And they apologized because apparently in Japan there are many people who set their watches and their schedules exactly to the train system there because it is so precise and on time. So apparently, well, I guess the company didn't actually have any complaints, but they were concerned that, if it leaves 20 seconds early, there are obviously people who are going to miss that train, and they apologized for that.
I find it so intriguing because have you ever gone on YouTube and watched those subway train photo or videos where they literally are like using plungers to plunge people in to the trains? They get so packed up. It is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Exactly. And, I kind of understand the point that they're making when you look at a city like Tokyo where the population is so dense. Can you imagine? I mean, we joke about it leaving 20 seconds early. The big joke to me about it is that there was a train 4 minutes later. They only had to wait 4 minutes. Here, when I'm in downtown Chicago, sometimes I have to wait 15, 20 minutes. So it just astounds me. But that's the kind of news I think that we're trying to bring. A little bit of levity and some stories that you're not going to hear everywhere, along with some of the more serious stuff.
I find it just incredible. I mean, there was the one video that I just about died. I don't know if it was set up or not, but it was a video of a guy on a Japanese train, and he just happened to have a male problem. Maybe he had a little bit too much Viagra in his cereal in the morning, and the doors closed, and because they couldn't close properly, the doors kept on opening and then reclosing, trying to close, and there was nothing he could do about it. I died. I died watching that one.
There is nothing I can say that is appropriate in response to that.
No, you absolutely can't. You absolutely can't. But it is hilarious, so to speak.
It is.
It very much is. I'm getting a lot of questions about Skype. Okay, once again, I want to explain Skype. And if you weren't listening a few minutes ago, about half an hour ago when I went through it, or 45 minutes ago, okay, Microsoft did an update on Skype. We cannot just add callers or take callers on this program the way it is hooked up through Spreaker. I would love to take phone calls on a night like tonight. That's why it sounded a little bit like I was drowning in hour number 1, because it really handicaps us, because Microsoft, in their infinite wisdom, decided to get rid of this little button that says add to group call. So no, unfortunately, I can't take callers. I would love to, but I can't. And I can't get a hold of Soren because on his Skype he has not turned his green light on that shows that he is online. It is showing that he is offline. Until he changes that on his computer, I can't connect a call to him. I even tried him during our break to call him, and that call wouldn't go through either. So it doesn't go through. No, there is no regular phone number like in the old days because Spreaker has a deal with Skype. We could go back to the Blog Talk Radio days where only about 6 people will hear us. And that'll be all crackly, sounding like, staticky radio when you're in the mountains. And I'm not about to do that. Okay, so there's nothing I can do with the Skype. So I apologize, okay, but there's nothing I can do. Complaining about it is not going to cure anything, okay? I'm sure you can sense the frustration in my voice about it, because we try to run an extremely professional show here, and it's amateur things like Skype that absolutely drive me nuts. And it doesn't bode well for what we are trying to accomplish on this show when we have amateur things like Skype happening. Unfortunately, due to the way we are broadcasting on Spreaker, this is going to continue. But I do have an idea. If you guys are sick of this happening like I am, get a hold of your local talk radio station and start emailing them every day or every 2 days and tell them to pick us up. Program directors actually listen to the audience that way. You tell them to pick us up, because what happens when they pick us up, we'll get a real phone line. Not this Skype crap.
Well, it happened. It is part of the technological problem of some of the things we do. The best we can do is just move on.
Absolutely. Let's just drop the Skype topic, okay? Chris says, I'm going to research it, and I have a couple of folks from our station that I can test with. Chris, we've already done that. If you go into Skype rules, they're already there. And I apologize, I'm getting very frustrated by it. All right? I'm getting very frustrated by it, because you as an audience don't deserve Skype snafus that continue to plague every show that has to use it. It's a garbage system. Okay? All because Microsoft had to fix something that wasn't broken. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Anyways, let's continue on with our news section. Okay. I found a story yesterday, Everett, and I'm curious to get your opinion. Pope Francis had a Lamborghini pull into the Vatican the other day.
I saw that.
So the Pope blessed the Vatican. Now, could you see Pope Francis cruising around in the Lamborghini Pope-mobile?
Well, there is a little bit of irony in the fact that he is sort of become the people's pope again and given up so many of the extras that popes have previously had, and then in pulls this Lamborghini.
Well, if you haven't read the story, once again, you can find all these stories that we're talking about right now on the Encounter online. Okay, so all you have to do is go to spacedoutradio.com, click on news, check out the Encounter and Around the World, and the stories are there. Okay, so the story behind it was that this $200,000 Lamborghini Huracan was blessed by the Pope. And the reason why the Pope blessed it was the Lamborghini is actually being auctioned off for charity. So they figured they could get more money by having a blessed car. You know what the irony about this is, Everett, is if very, very soon the person who buys it takes it like on the German Autobahn or something like that where there is no speed limit and dies in the car crash. That would be irony.
That's horrible irony, but it would be interesting to see, and this sounds so morbid, but what would happen? Would that become like the James Dean car, or would it be salvaged and parted out, and what would happen to the various pieces? Like the, what plane crash was that? Was it an Eastern Air? crashed that they salvaged and parts were put in other planes, and people experienced weird things on those other planes.
Well, a couple of them also crashed as well.
Yeah. But, yeah, that would, we probably shouldn't wish for anything like that for the owner of that car, because he could probably buy and sell all of us.
Well, you know what? It's not just that, but the irony of it here is, and all the fear-mongers and the conspiracy theorists out there is, let's say the owner of this car, we're not trying to put bad juju on him, but this is what's going to happen, unfortunately. I'm already predicting it, Everett. I'm already calling the shot. It's the shot heard around the world, much like Babe Ruth's home run when he called his shot. If somebody gets into a car accident and dies in that Lamborghini, this is exactly what's going to happen. All of these fearmongers that are out there who believe this crap that the Pope is a satanic reptilian, they are going to have a heyday with this, saying that the Pope put Satan's curse on that car because the person was rich and he bought the car, or something along those lines. It's something...
They absolutely would.
Absolutely. Absolutely, they will. They will go at the fearmongers and the wingnuts out there who believe in this crap, that the Queen is a reptilian, the Pope is a reptilian Satanist. They are all going to go haywire over this.
Yeah. But, there is... Those people, I think, they're looking for this stuff anyway. And I don't know how they formulate these ideas or really come to believe them. But, I think whatever happens to that car, if there's any minor kind of incident with that car, I think you'll hear something about it. I think that car will be followed in some people's eyes, not followed by other cars, but will be watched by some conspiracy theorists for quite a while.
You're absolutely right.
It would make the perfect story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you go out there looking for a specific event, you can find things that you can create into that event. At some point, this car will have a problem, and it's likely that will be turned into some sort of story. Hopefully it doesn't involve somebody's death or anything like that, but it certainly could. And like you said, that there will be a bunch of people jumping on that.
Absolutely, there will be. Absolutely. Every fearmonger person out there who believes in this crap, they are going to be all hot and horny over this story. They are going to be going absolutely haywire over this. Absolutely haywire.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, since we're here.
Because, yeah, of course. We not to change stories, but we did one on uranium poisoning, radiation poisoning on some Native American lands. Why aren't some of these conspiracy theorists jumping on the idea that this has never been cleaned up? When I read some of the things that I read on it and did some research, there was that little tinfoil hat wearing gnome on my shoulder going, is this intentional? I couldn't get it entirely out of my head. The way the system has failed on this cleanup and the way it's been dragged out, why don't these conspiracy theorists jump on those stories and really look into them and see what's going on? Whether there's a conspiracy or an administration error or, a funding error, why do they always pick the bizarre things that lead them nowhere instead of grabbing onto these sort of mainstream stories and exploring them farther?
I don't know. Maybe it's the juice of the story. Maybe it's the juice of the story. I don't get it. I don't get it. It drives me haywire.
It's almost like it's an opportunity to create an immediate conspiracy, whether there's fact behind it or not, but they have no work to do. You just throw it out there on the interwebs, and people grab onto it.
And Everett, that's why we've made a conscious decision on this show to be very, very sticky with a lot of these people whom we invite on the program. Yeah, we will talk conspiracy. Other shows may not. Other shows may say that conspiracy topics aren't part of this genre and are refusing to do them. We will go there because there are questions that need to be answered. It's the same thing we talked about with Jamie Sexton last night. People have, whether you believe 9/11 was an inside job or not, people have questions. And I know I do. Okay, I'm not one of these people who is saying nuclear weapons were used or that the planes were holograms. I don't buy that for a second. Okay? I don't buy that for a second. But what we will have to do here is we'll have to put on our thinking caps. And we will literally have to remember that there are questions that need to be answered. And I'm absolutely fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with the fact that we need to, as people, ask questions. Okay? Like Jamie brought up a very good point. If you want to get rid of the conspiracy theory, show us the evidence. The public has a right to know at a time of tragedy. Like the Las Vegas shooting. Show the MGM should show the video of how he got the guns in there and their security missed it.
They should.
Okay.
But? Sneaking the guns in, I don't think is as hard as people make it out to be. Most of these guns you can dismantle into a couple of pieces and put them in some luggage. I know that they haven't released any video of him bringing any kind of luggage in, but we also have to trust a little bit in what they're doing. And maybe at this point in time, there's a reason. Maybe on that video, it shows him talking to somebody, and they don't want to release that fact yet. And we don't necessarily have the right to know what their investigation is encompassing, what it includes, what they're doing.
True that, and they are a private corporation, which means they don't have to answer the questions. If they were a public corporation, I would say, where's the video?
But what if there is the video and somewhere in it, it shows him speaking to somebody that is already being investigated, being monitored by whether it be the SEC for some of their, the stock dealings that this gentleman has had. It could be for any number of reasons. Maybe at this point in time, releasing that jeopardizes another investigation. And I'm not saying that it does, but what I am saying is that sometimes we don't have the right to all the information when we demand it.
Well, the same thing could be said for releasing the video on 9/11, the plane that hit the Pentagon. There were apparently 80 cameras that were shut down or confiscated confiscated by the FBI, the CIA, and NSA. If you want to cure the conspiracy theorists, instead of talking about it, just show the video.
Well, that's another situation where regardless of what your opinion is on an event and the conspiracy theories around it, there are many times where that conspiracy theory does bring up some valid questions. It doesn't matter how far out there the theory is. Oftentimes, it does ask some questions that people either haven't asked or avoid asking. And these conspiracy theorists are often putting them out there and, expecting or asking for answers. So, and that's a good thing. So sometimes, as goofy as these conspiracy theories are, they may, in their own way, help bring some information forward that we might not get, even if it doesn't validate their theory.
I get that. But if you want to shut the public up, okay, and get rid of all of this nonsense of conspiracy theory, because how many times do we hear politicians slam the conspiracy theorist? They do it quite often, especially around 9/11. Show the video. Show the video of the plane hitting the Pentagon. You can cut away, you can edit the video, okay, before it hits the building. You can cut that portion out. You've already shown the explosion, which there doesn't seem to be a plane in play there. Because if you look at the explosion when it's going off, you don't see any plane parts right in front of the building from what they have let go. Okay? And they've showed the first frame of what it looks to be a plane, or said to be a plane, coming into the frame, but a 757 nose does not look like that. To me, that looks more like a missile, but that's just me. If you want to end the argument, show the video.
I would agree with you. I personally don't think there are conspiracy theories around 9/11 that are valid. I think that these were some incredibly lucky terrorists, but I just can't buy into a lot of these theories. I've seen the demonstrations and the experiments that engineers have done about the plane crashing into the Pentagon, and I buy and I can accept their explanation that essentially it would create that hole and it would, break apart or disintegrate. Looking at the studies that they've done and the experiments that they've done, I'm willing to put that to rest. Maybe that part of that
Come on.
I am.
Building 7, buddy. Building 7. How does a building fall when the side is scraped?
Well, New York building codes aren't that great.
Okay, I'll give you that. We have had major fires in buildings, in skyscraper buildings. Fires worse than what were in Building 7 around the world since then. And the buildings haven't fallen, and especially at free fall speed on an implosion.
Well, one of the things that I think you have to consider is that those buildings were, and this is going to go kind of in a circle here and might take me a while, so sit down. Those buildings weren't retrofitted for earthquakes. So is it possible, is it logical that when the planes hit the World Trade Center buildings, that it created enough of a shock within the ground to affect the stability, the foundation of other buildings, and that one happened to be one that it affected, and that over that short period of time, it gave way and collapsed?
I'm not buying it. There are too many scientists and engineers who have dismissed that theory. Professionals, more professional than you and I.
But we could say the same thing about the Pentagon building and the plane crashing into it. There are people much smarter than I.
True. But explain this to me, and I'm going to cut you off there because I have the power of the microphone and the mute button. Okay? But explain this to me for a second. When you see on the video, on that crap piece of video that they released, okay, when they show the plume of smoke coming up from the Pentagon, Where are the plane pieces on the lawn? A 757 tail would be noticeable.
Unless it went entirely through.
But the tail section was shown.
This is true. And I do believe that there was an explanation for the positions of, and you'll have to forgive me, I haven't spent a lot of time on 9/11 in the past few years, but the lack of wings, I believe it is, or the placement of the wings. I saw some very compelling experiments and demonstrations that, I'm sorry, I just can't get into the conspiracy aspect of it.
I'm going to throw one more at you about the Pentagon. Okay?
Oh, boy.
Many, many professional pilots, military pilots, as well as commercial airline pilots with thousands of hours of flight, both in simulator and in the air, say the loop that it made at a 270-degree turn at top speed of 585 miles per hour knots or whatever it is, okay, the G-forces alone would not allow the plane to do that. And an experienced pilot would have troubles doing that. So how does this rookie, who they say got his flight instructors or instruction down in Florida and didn't even pass there, take a highly technical 757 to make that maneuver and then fly it 6 feet off the ground, the engine 6 feet off the ground, that is, to make that happen, to make that impact happen?
I will concede that is all very, it's interesting. The pilot was either very lucky or, that plane may have been on its last legs when it crashed into the Pentagon, which would increase its likelihood of disintegration after going through those G-forces.
Exactly.
It may have been rattling like a 1974 Nova, but let me ask you this then. If that plane didn't crash into the Pentagon, where did it go? And where are
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I think it was a missile. Now, the people, collateral damage. Collateral damage. Who knows where they were? Who knows if they even existed? We don't know. That's why there's questions.
But see, that's delving too deep down the rabbit hole. To sit there and say that maybe those people didn't even exist, are you? And I don't want to start an argument with you, but are you going to then say that plane never existed and never actually took off?
I think the plane took off and went somewhere else. I mean, here's my example. Okay, I'm full tinfoil hat right now. Okay, so bear with me. All right, and I just want you to hear my explanation. I'm not saying my theory is correct. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just putting it out as it's possible. Malaysian air flight that disappeared so-called into the ocean, that for some reason we couldn't find the black box to it. Okay? There is people who are saying that they saw that flight flying around U.S. Air Force Base Diego Garcia, which is a little bit of a hidden base. There were 40 Chinese electronic warfare professionals from the military on that flight. And I read this report, I believe it was on CNN or Fox. Don't give me the fake news crap, okay? But here's where I question it. That plane goes into the ocean. What happens to a cell phone when you drop it in the water? Back then, before they created waterproof phones.
Well, it pretty much dies.
Okay, so what? So if you call a phone that is dead or turned off, what happens?
Don't you get the message that the subscriber is not available or something like that?
Or it goes straight to voicemail.
Yes.
Correct? It does not. It does not ring. Okay? You're not going to get the 2, 3, 4 rings before, or 6 rings before it goes to voicemail. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Family members in Malaysia were calling the cell phones and the phones were ringing and nobody was picking up. That is fact. The other fact about it was, if your phone is off, what happens to your Facebook connection if you were using it on your phone? You all of a sudden don't show up in the chat. Do you know what do you see what I'm saying there?
Right.
You show you're offline. There were many people on that flight who showed up on Facebook that they were available for chat on Facebook, which would mean their phones were on. That is also fact.
This might be a case where the conspiracy theorists are making some good points. I just don't believe that everything is a conspiracy.
I agree.
And I agree. I can accept that there is the possibility, knowing some of, what some of the passengers on that plane were doing. It's kind of a, I don't want to say third world country, but it's a remote country to most of us in North America. I can accept the idea that in that case, that plane was hijacked or taken control of and taken somewhere else. I can buy that a lot easier than I can buy a conspiracy with the plane on the Pentagon.
Okay, so let's say the flight number. Now let's change gears then. Let's say the flight number was just a flight number, but the plane didn't exist. You can create a flight number and a flight pattern and a signal.
Yeah, but I'm still willing. I don't think they made up an entire flight. I guess you're losing me here. Are you saying that they faked the flight and it was what?
What if it was a drone?
What about all the people on it?
It's easy to create names, dude. That's simple.
But what about their families? I mean,
I agree. I agree. I'm playing devil's advocate with you here because I know your hair's is rising here.
No, it's not. Well, it is a little bit because I don't have any coffee. But
what?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
We're going to change topics here because I want to get to this before we get to Gail's questions, and then we'll get to more questions about that. All right? This story that came out today, I have been killing myself laughing over it since I found out about it. Did you hear about the police officers in Detroit, Everett?
The ones that were involved in a drug bust? Were they shooting each other?
Yes. So, to give you details on it for the audience, there were precinct officers from the 12th precinct in Detroit who were posing as drug dealers. They were held at gunpoint by police from the 11th precinct because they were both trying to bust each other. Okay, then this big fisticuffs brawl happened between all of the officers because they didn't believe that the others were cops. This is hilarious.
It reminds me a bit of the Keystone Cops episodes of was that the 20s to 40s?
Absolutely. It was. It was absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
But, you know, in this day and age where you can manufacture identification and you can get badges, in a way, you know, it's a humorous story, but I can see it happening. You know, especially in a city like that where you don't know everybody. I mean, I'm going to guess that Detroit probably has about 20,000, maybe more, police officers. So, you know, every precinct and every neighborhood is kind of their own area and they know each other. But if their paths cross, they may not be familiar with other police officers. And, you know, we've had experiences down here where people are pulled over by people impersonating police officers. So I can understand how something like that would happen, but you would, on the other hand, would hope that there'd be some more communication between different interdepartment agencies and different sectors of the police department so that they at least know what the other ones are doing.
So here's the story. Police Chief James Craig announced to reporters, "This is probably one of the most embarrassing things I've seen in this department since I've been appointed police chief. In fact, I have to tell you, it's probably one of the most disappointing things I've experienced in my entire 40-year career." There is apparently a video of the incident which took place on November 9th, and it has been released as part of the investigation. The body camera footage shows one officer shouting, "Don't put your hand on your gun," while another says his team had a search warrant. Then the brawl develops. So until this happens, I guess lack of communication, okay, 2 officers have been placed on restrictive duties and a supervisor from the special operations team has been reassigned pending an outcome. Like, talk about getting egg on your face here. Like, that is hilarious. That is just hilarious. How do you not know that you're busting your own set-up drug house?
Again, lack of communication. I mean, and it's funny because in a world where we're more connected, I've seen more instances of a lack of connection between people. You know, and I think, you know, one of the things I've learned about police departments is each precinct, each agency is very territorial and they don't like to share information with people even within their own department. They like to hold everything close to their vest. So, again, it comes down to communicating plans, but obviously they didn't share those plans. It's something that's going to have to be addressed within, you know, the Detroit Police Department, and hopefully other agencies and other metropolitan police departments can take a look at this and come up with a plan to prevent something like this from happening. I've heard of little things like this happening before, but not to this extent. And, you know, obviously it's embarrassing for everybody involved.
Let's get to Gail's question here. She goes, besides Spaced Out Radio, what alternative news sources do you two find credible and reliable? Everett, I'll let you take that one.
Gosh, you know, I don't know that I find... I don't have a recommended list. What I do is when I see something somewhere, whether I just randomly search something or I see something from a website that I either am or am not familiar with, the first thing I do is I search it and I start to look for other takes on the story, other reporting of the story, or something in the mainstream news of that area. We've run across several stories that have happened in places like Brazil or Ecuador or some other Far East locations where we're hearing about the story And as soon as you start to research it, and if you research the major town near the story, you're not necessarily hearing about it. It doesn't seem to be reported in that location. So right away, I dismiss that. In a way, I find many aspects of mainstream journalism, mainstream media credible, but they just put such a tremendous spin on it that you kind of need to see, you might see a story on the mainstream, but then you have to go and do the research. And there are so many websites out there. Honestly, I don't really want to recommend anything. I mean, there are sites like, the Mirror UK. There are sites out there. The thing is that what I do is I research the story, and oftentimes I find the early reporting of a story is coming from a local source, which I will trust. So I almost take the main story and just keep researching back till we get the very first reporting of it, the very first instance of it in what would be considered kind of a mainstream thing. And then I just explore that and see what other ideas or reporting is out there on the situation. And I know that absolutely does not answer Gail's question, but in a way it falls down to, or comes down to, people need to research and make up their own minds. I'm a big believer in don't necessarily take what I say as the bottom line truth. Go and research it yourself. Find out for yourself. People need to do more of that, and the best thing they can do is look at a variety of different sites.
I fully agree with you, and one of the things I would recommend too is, because the media is split so down the middle, especially in the United States, where you have left-leaning media, right-leaning media, take the same story, read it on both sides, draw your own opinion.
Exactly.
Sew them together, the truth is there. Because each news outlet is just doing half a story. So if you sew them together, now you got both. Now you know what the actual reporting is.
And, one of the things that, with what we're trying to accomplish, because we don't make it a conscious effort or a concerted effort, but oftentimes we pass up the stories that we know everybody else is going to be looking at, because it's going to be out there everywhere. So we kind of search out some of the different stories. And what happens is you find websites that, and news outlets and even physical newspapers and magazines that you didn't expect. And they're credible. They're good. There are different sites out there where you can check the credibility rating of a media outlet. And, oftentimes I use that to judge my opinion of a website. But there are so many out there, especially when we're looking at a worldwide view, when we're searching across, the globe. We're finding so many sites out there that people don't know about that are credible. Now, obviously, I'm not going to tell everybody about those sites because, you need to come to the encounter to read the stories. But it is out there if you're willing to do the research and form your own opinion.
Absolutely. And for who do I trust? I don't trust sites, okay? I think, like all of us, we have to be more diligent on social media. So if you read one of these posts that says, if we want to talk fake news, if you read one of these posts that says, read this now, or watch this video before Facebook takes it down, or this is the video the government didn't want you to see, it's fake. It's absolutely fake. Okay?
And you know what's a little scary is I've been noticing that some of these questionable websites are beginning to pick up legitimate stories and start to stick them on their page. So it's becoming even more confusing because you can go to a website that you think is maybe either extremely biased or fake, and on there, mixed in with 7 or 8 weird, bizarre stories, they will have 2 or 3 stories that you've heard about in other places, and they're legitimate. So all of a sudden it gives themselves a hint of legitimacy that a lot of people might see or fall, I don't want to say fall for, but they will see that, believe the website is legitimate, and then start taking these other stories and pushing them out there like they're legitimate too.
One other thing before we go to break here, I want you to realize the newest thing now is they're putting live up in the corner, like they're on Facebook Live. They're putting that little logo up there that they are live, and then they are showing like an audience countdown. I'm going to tell you, live video doesn't skip and repeat. Okay,
it doesn't?
No, apparently it doesn't. Okay, number 2, okay, the numbers would fluctuate going up or down. So beware of that.
True.
And usually if they're saying it's in New York and it's daytime when it's nighttime, it's not real. Just want to point that out. Okay? So just be careful with that. Ev, we're going to put you on hold. We may have a preacher sighting right after this on the mighty SOR. You never know. You never know. Will the preacher show up? We're going to ask him about his latest blog at Spaced Out Radio's Encounter Online as well. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio tonight. We had a change on the fly. We are talking about updated news. Things going on right now in the world that'll just make you scratch your head and go, We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio. Everett and the preacher coming up right after this.
We're getting strange on Saturday nights. Hi there, this is Dave Cruz, and each Saturday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I will take you on a tour of the weird and obtuse on Spaced Out Saturdays, from aliens to Sasquatch and every tinfoil hat in between. We got you covered. Join us at spacedoutradio.com for Spaced Out Saturdays. See you there.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Would you like someone you can trust to look into it? We have just the place. The SOR Sightlines Report is the place for you to find answers, whether it's Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman, ghosts, aliens, or anything strange. The Sightlines Report will get you connected with one of our expert researchers to find out what's going on. All of your personal information is kept 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report, a place for you to find the answers you need. Only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there. I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4 Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio. And on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, it's Spaced Out Saturdays with Dave Cruz. He is back after taking a weekend off last week, and he will be with us until the end of the month before Joe Root from KTLK, the Fringe.fm, takes over the Saturday night show. Dave dealing with some family matters, which is always a good cause. Sunday night, Elizabeth Anglin is back with Spaced Out Saturdays with Cosmic Passport. Everything gets going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live on Revolution Radio. Remember, the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Deep Nosophist. Deep Nosophist is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect live with me during the show as well. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also join us for live chat in the SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook. We're on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. You can also follow us on our brand new YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio. It's no longer Spaced Out Radio Show. You can unsubscribe from that one. Subscribe to our brand new channel. We would highly appreciate that. And we are on iHeartRadio in the United States. TalkStream Live. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Rock out to some Bumblefoot. Shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Watch videos from UFO seekers and Contact TV, and read up on the encounter online. Tonight we're going to be talking with Soren Korsgaard, and we had troubles with the phone systems tonight, so I do apologize to you. But I've already talked to him on email. He apologizes to all of you. Him and I are going to reschedule. So we're changing on the fly, talking more current news, what's going on with the Encounter Online's Everett Themer, and our resident scientist, Eric Markham. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hey, how's it going tonight?
Hey.
Eric, I appreciate you joining us. We are going to get into your latest article on the encounter. I want to get to Gail's question here first. She is asking, have any of us seen that Nibiru is supposed to disrupt Earth's orbit this Sunday and cause massive earthquakes? Again.
Oh, bloody.
Preach, when are you start with it?
Nibiru.
You know, are we so frickin' desperate to believe something that we will grasp at any thing they throw out there? Okay, we were supposed to have been destroyed by Nibiru about, 7 times this year? And honestly, if it was close enough that something like that was going to happen, we would already be feeling, the effects would already be there. Tides would be going, would be off. Moon's orbit would be off. There would be so many perturbations in our orbit that we would know if something that large was that close to us.
Everett,
long before it ever got here.
Everett, what's your thoughts?
There is no Nibiru. It's not there.
And this Friday, we all get wiped out.
What else is new? What else is new? And this brings up a good point. I agree with you, Everett. There is no Nibiru. I have a hard time believing that there is something the size of a planet that is dark, yet the sun reflects off of everything else. But we don't know or cannot find this planet that is so-called in the sky. And the fear-mongering that goes along, and this comes up with the fear-mongering again. And I know Gail asked this question in jest, okay, because, she's not a believer in this stuff either, but she's just throwing out a report that is out there. This is, once again, one of those fake news stories Okay, you can talk about CNN or ABC or NBC or whoever giving fake news. This is the alternative media side of fake news. Okay, talking about this so-called planet that nobody can see, yet the sun seems to reflect off of Jupiter, the sun seems to reflect off of Saturn, off of Neptune, off of Uranus, off of every other planet and star and solar system, yet there's this one dark Death Star out there flying around that the sun just cannot shine off of. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Let's also keep in mind that we have sent satellites to the far-flung edges of our solar system with accuracy. We've rendezvoused with Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. These things are calculated based on the known gravitational forces in the solar system. If there was another body out there with gravity attached, none of that stuff would have worked. They'd have flown off course. They'd have been, crazy, because I don't know if people realize it, but those spaceship probes are launched, and that's it. We have to. It's like hitting a moving horse on a merry-go-round with a spitball from 20 miles away. So if there was another source of gravity out in our solar system, none of our probes would have made any of these just epic voyages.
Everett?
Well, I was just going to say that we have all these telescopes out there looking farther than we've ever been able to look before. And I feel that if this planet really existed, they would have found, visual evidence of it. And I don't buy the idea that that would be hidden from us. We're announcing, or space agencies are announcing every day that they've found planets here and planets there. I think, maybe 1,200 in the last year or so. Don't quote me on that number, though, Eric, because I'm not positive. But I just don't buy or believe that if they did discover this, it would be a big hidden secret that we're, all needing to be protected from. It would be, we've discovered another planet. But they haven't discovered it because it's not there.
That's right.
Let's move on.
And if you think an amateur astronomer finding something like that wouldn't be yelling, getting their name attached to it and yelling from the tops of, the chapels, I have found this. Yeah, right. It wouldn't be a secret.
Let's get to another question. This one comes from Gail again. She's on fire tonight. She says, let's say disclosure happened tomorrow. What will and how will each of you deal with this? 2 scenarios. Number 1, ETs are not friendly, and 1 where the ETs are friendly. Everett, you go first.
Gosh, I don't know. I guess I imagine that if it was disclosed that they exist and they're not friendly, I would probably be a little worried and maybe go hide in my secret bunker somewhere. If they were friendly, I don't know. In my opinion, they're out there somewhere, and in some respects, I can accept and believe that they are already interacting with us in various ways. Maybe not the way that some people portray it with, government agreements and working in secret labs with us. But I think that I would accept that they're there. I mean, if they're not friendly, I would probably bow down to our alien overlords. And if they were friendly, I would just wait to see what happens.
How about you, Preacher? Which way would you work?
Well, if they weren't friendly, we wouldn't really probably know that until maybe the last 1 or 2 of us were being vaporized. So I'm not, that's not a worry. If they are friendly, just going to take a wait-and-see attitude, and, how is that going to affect my life? Probably not a bit. I'm still probably going to have to work, 3 12-hour shifts every weekend, and, just life goes on. I mean, I guess I would take it in sort of a laissez-faire because I already believe that they exist. I believe they're already here to an extent. So it would just be validation. It's like, me and a bunch of other people already thought so. It wouldn't really, I don't think it would change my life that much.
See, I tend to think that if they are not friendly and they're coming here and they, I've heard the rumors that they want our gold, they want precious metals, they want all kinds of different things. If they really wanted those, either we would all be enslaved and sending material on interstellar cargo ships or whatever to them, or they would just wipe us out. So I don't accept that there's ever going to be one of those giant invasions where they just eliminate us all.
I highly doubt that at all. I really highly doubt that at all. And the reason why I doubt it is because we seem to have a lot of things happening right now where we are having people who are having negative experiences. I personally have had both. Okay, I only had the one, which was a positive experience previous, but my last one was pretty negative. All right, so there are a lot of people who've had good experiences and bad experiences. I've had good experiences with people and bad experiences with people. I can tell you this, if an alien invasion, did happen, and it was of negative descent, it would have happened already. It would have happened already.
And one of the things we always talk about is how an alien life form that was going to come here. So often people say, well, they're hundreds of thousands of years more advanced than us, or tens of thousands of years more advanced than us. What if they're 200 years advanced from us, and Roswell was just their version of Elon Musk's trial run?
Yeah, because I don't think we've ever I don't think any scientist has ever put forth, you must be X advanced in order to discover. I mean, they could maybe be not that much more advanced than us. They just had better mathematicians, or, somebody had that eureka moment a couple hundred years ago, or maybe not even that long ago. I mean, we don't, look how much our technology has changed since the 1900s. Just, we went from basically in the turn of the century, horse and buggies to, stealth fighters and, autopiloting drones. So if that culture figured it out 50 years ago, that's entirely possible that when we meet them, it's, there might be like us, just slightly better toys. It doesn't take that long for the technology to evolve once you get a chance.
And that opens the door then to both sides of both types of experiences. I tend to believe that in 200 years or 300 years, we will still have those basic urges, the tendencies to be violent when threatened, and some of us will be more violent, some of us will be maybe friendlier. So if they're only 200-300 years advanced than us, and when you consider the advances we've made in 50 years, why couldn't there be both types of experiences, and why do they have to be 10,000 years more advanced than us?
Yeah, I don't think they have to be. I really don't. It's just, it's probably when we figure out warp drive or when we figure out faster than light travel, it's going to be one of those things like, are you kidding me? It took us this long to figure out, like figuring out how to make ice or say it's going to be some very basic, simple thing, but maybe the kicker is you only come up with it once you're evolved enough to handle it. And
Unless maybe it was
that's the ticket.
Maybe it was a happy accident for them, too. Maybe we're only a few calculations away and a few physics experiments away from finding out what it is we need to find out to make that next step. And they found it out and had some, they were obviously a few hundred years ahead of us and got to that point, and there they are.
I think what's going to happen when we finally meet them, it's going to be more like they're not. You're going to have factions coming here making us think that they're the ones that know everything, and once we get out there, we're going to find out the ones we bought the technology from were not a whole hell of a lot brighter than we were. There's going to be some other people out there. It's like, oh, you fell for that, we're suckers. But that might be part of how civilizations enter, the galactic neighborhood. You get conned. It's like a hazing ritual.
Well, Adam makes a good point in the chat room. He says, we can't even get different human races to get along. That is true. And I really believe that both good and bad extraterrestrials are here. I believe that there are some heinous things going on. I do believe that there are people taken off this planet for good and never to be seen again. Right? We've had those statistics on this show. Something like 65,000 Americans a year, they believe. They can't prove it, but they believe. So I firmly believe, getting back to Gail's question in regards to how would you react, I know how I would react. If they were negative, I would take my family and I would, head into the sticks somewhere, as deep into the forest as I possibly could. And because I'm not a gun owner, I would probably have to bring a hockey stick and a couple pucks. But that's just the way it is. If they were positive, which I do believe the majority of them are, nothing to worry about. Just continue living. See if we could get a ride on a spaceship somewhere. Let's go cruise the universe. Damn it, Carl! Get your spaceship down here. I want to go for a ride. Always blame Carl for that. Andrew has a question on Twitter. He is saying, could the meme of Nibiru be a means of distracting people from seeing what is really coming? If a change is inevitable, then there are... I'm sorry, I'm reading this wrong. If a change is inevitable, there are the powers that be trying to control the narrative. No, I think, Andrew, in my opinion about that, I think once again we have fear-mongering going on, because if there's nothing more that scientists love than to be the first on something. Yes, there is a lot of ego involved. But if there's a planet crashing towards Earth, love or hate NASA, they're going to say something about it. They would absolutely say something about it. It's just like you see all these fake news reports on the media. The mainstream media isn't covering this. What the mainstream media won't tell you, they won't tell you it because it's fake news.
Right.
Okay? Not everything the mainstream media says is fake. A lot of times, and I can tell you how it works at a newsroom. A lot of times when you are working in a newsroom, they have researchers who are usually broadcast students passing stories over to the news editor, who goes through all of the stories and says, yes and no, that is what we are covering today. So they start their stories that way, and then if there's follow-ups, they do those follow-ups. If there was something like Nibiru, if it existed and it was flying towards this planet, absolutely it would be mainstream news, because every military in the world, every government in the world would have to try and figure out a way to divert this. It wouldn't be something that they would silence everybody on until it's, a million miles away and closing. They would absolutely be reporting on that. And so I don't buy the Nibiru thing at all. I think it's a cover-up by the fake news fearmongers who continually want to try and scare people that the end of the world is coming, much like all these people who read these little derivatives out of the Bible and believe they've figured out the dates of when the world is going to come to an end. I think it falls absolutely in that same category.
Well, it's just clickbait. I mean, they get paid every time some gullible moron hits the button. Even if it's a penny, idiots eventually add up.
And we're talking about this as if NASA is the only space agency in the world. There are other countries that have space agencies and that have satellites and things out there looking. If this were real news, those agencies not all of those countries are our best friends. They could, if they wanted to, perpetuate this idea and kind of back it up. But the problem with doing something like that is that if it's not there, then eventually that space agency or that country is going to look foolish, especially if they did it to somehow try and manipulate the population of somewhere. If this was a story that some country was sending out there to create fear in another country, eventually that's going to come back and bite them and reduce their world credibility. So it's such a dead topic to me. It seems like it's been floating around for 10 years, and it's never changing. It's always hidden in the shadows, and we're waiting for it.
Right. And it's just a matter of, I don't know. I think my blog this week is going to be gullibility in the paranormal. Because there's people who, and I bet if we could get the statistics and somehow figure out who keeps hitting this link, it's probably the same, basement dwelling, troglodyte that hit it 10 weeks ago, 4 weeks. It's the same person with their little tinfoil hat living in Granny's basement that keeps hitting that news story. They know who they're playing to. And, when they need to get the click count up to pay the bills, they throw a Nibiru story out there and, they keep the lights on another month. I know that sounds cynical, but I just really feel that that's a great deal of what we're seeing here.
I'm going to change topics for a bit. I got a cute fatherly story to share today. I know it's been a long time since a lot of us had children who were still toddlers, but today I'm sitting watching YouTube with my little guy, and I said, Dad's got to show you something. And he's like, what? And you should have seen him get all excited today when I pulled up this YouTube channel that had the actual vehicles of Transformers. And, like my little guy, he is all about Transformers. Everything is Transformers. He loves Optimus Prime. He was Optimus Prime for Halloween. And he is so pumped up. So here I am showing him this video of the actual cars like Bumblebee and Optimus Prime driving through the streets, like the actual vehicles looking all shined up like somebody just spent like the last 15 hours waxing the vehicle. And to watch them get all goosebumpy, you know how kids, their body sort of tightens up when they're sitting on your lap, and their body sort of tightens up when they start to get excitement. It was just one of those moments. The reason why I bring this up is it also brings up a very interesting topic that came up of late this month about Saudi Arabia allowing the first artificial intelligence robot full human citizenship in their country. Number one, I find it very ironic that the most depreciative country in the world when it comes to women would actually give a Caucasian robot not wearing a headscarf citizenship. But number two, this AI robot has actually stated in the past about killing off mankind. Think about that for a second. Does this not remind you of James Cameron's original Terminator? Are we playing...
It does.
Are we dancing with the devil here, preacher, when it comes to artificial intelligence?
I believe that, yes, I firmly believe that Kurzweil has it wrong, that, what's he called, unity or, singularity. Anyhow, I think if we create artificial intelligence and begin merging with our machines, the human race will disappear as a biological, species within 100 years. And I just don't imagine being able, the thing is, we're trying to create artificial intelligence when organic intelligence is unpredictable. Can you imagine a Ted Bundy computer or think of a Hitler computer? Yeah, I just don't really...
Well, that brings up a good point.
It bothers me.
That brings up a good point. And Everett, I'm going to get to your point, but it reminds me of that movie with Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone. Where they're Demolition Man, where they're in the future and they're able to program the brain to train. And Wesley Snipes' character was trained with martial arts and how to use all sorts of weapons, whereas, in order to calm down John Connor, a.k.a., or whatever his name is, John Spartan, pardon me, Sylvester Stallone's character, they taught him how to knit. You know what I'm saying? Like, playing with the artificial intelligence into the people's brains, I can see where preacher's going with this. Everett, do you think we're dancing with the devil on this topic?
I don't know. I see a lot of applications for artificial intelligence. The problem is, the more intelligent you make that artificial intelligence, the more danger you run into. The more likely, in my opinion, it is that it can formulate something to, I don't want to exactly say wipe out the human race, but it's a tough dance. I don't know if it's exactly with the devil, but you would like to think and hope that whatever they create, they're putting some sort of fail-safes in there, and not, we obviously don't want to have somebody creating an artificial intelligent army, but if they can create one, how hard is it to create 50?
Well, think about it. If you create a robot army, even if you have controls on them, how long is it going to take before some evil genius figures out how to hack into the control code of your robot army and turn them on you? I mean, for every advancement...
What if that evil genius is artificial intelligence?
And it may well be. It could be it could be like a flywheel effect. Artificial intelligence creates as it evolves itself, and have no mistake, without human involvement, once artificial intelligence begins to evolve itself, the rate is going to be, they're going to go what took mankind 1.2 million years, they're going to do in seconds. It's not going to take that many iterations before they are so far out of our control and so far out of our intelligence spectrum that we have no way to deal with them.
Are scientists that cocky to not see the effects of what it is, or is it just the fun of building robots that they're seeing how far they can push and advance this technology, Preacher?
I think sometimes my peers can be like 3-year-olds in a toy box. Or, you give them Lincoln Logs, they just play with more high-tech Lincoln Logs without thinking of the repercussions. They get narrow-minded, they get a very narrow focus. Okay, make this do that. Now that I've made this do that, let's make that do, and they kind of lose track of the ethical ramifications of what they're doing. It's like the old quote, we were so, I can't remember where it's from, but the quote was, we were so busy proving that we could do it, we didn't stop to ask ourselves whether we should do it. And I think there's a big disconnect, and I don't think that the repercussions sink in till it's too late.
Andrew brings up a good point.
I think...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I agree with Eric. I think it's the idea that curiosity. Can I do this? And when you get scientists and really smart people looking at things going, I wonder if I can do this. We've had some great discoveries made through that, and even some robotic discoveries made through that. But that keeps getting stepped up. And it just becomes a question of, I wonder if I can do this. Not, like Eric said, not maybe I can do this, but should I?
Yeah, we get caught up in getting the end result, and then we get the end result, like kind of like Hagrid saying, "Oh, I shouldn't have told you I shouldn't have told you that." Once the cat's out of the bag, it's a little too late. And I don't think a lot of scientists see much further beyond their next grant proposal, getting their undergrads to do the grunt work for them, write another proposal. I mean, it's that publish or perish kind of, grant writing mentality, and I don't think they go past that much.
Andrew brings up an interesting point here on Twitter, saying they are getting closer to real transhumanism, though. An Italian doctor has transplanted the head from one cadaver to another, and they are planning on trying that on a real live person, I believe in 2018, who is a Russian gentleman who has an extremely debilitating disease. And it's supposed to be just a horrifically long surgery, but they do believe that it can work now for people who have horrific diseases to put them in another body that's healthy.
Well, they're transplanting this guy's head, and they're using ethylene glycol where they hook the spinal column back together. Now, my question is, if they can make it to where they can take this severed spine, severed head, and stick it to a body, and it's functional, which I have yet to hear. Is this guy's, is he going to get up and walk around, or is he going to be still in a wheelchair, except his body is going to be more intact? If I was wheelchair bound or a paralyzed human being, and the technology is out there that could, make me walk, I'd be a little upset right now. But that's one thing I have not been able to track down is what kind of functionality is this guy going to have once the transplant, if he survives the transplant, and basically the guy's not got long to live either way, so he really has nothing to lose by volunteering to be the guinea pig for this surgery. But, the ramifications are maybe the people that are basically quadriplegics, something may come out of this to help them, and, I'm all for that.
Well, Gail brings up a funny comment here, but it's so true. She goes, they're already making robots for erotic purposes. So if all the guys were single, would you avail yourselves to one of these? No, I wouldn't. I'm taken. Of course I wouldn't. Not that kind of guy.
I don't know.
What the hell? What the hell?
Blog here.
Is it? Well, hold on. Is this a good point? Is it cheating?
I was about to ask, is it cheating?
I don't think it would be.
I mean,
I don't think it would be.
I guess you'd have to, if, self-pleasuring is cheating, then I guess you would have to say that using this robot for that purpose would be cheating. But if self-pleasuring is not cheating, then, using the robot isn't. Now, here's where it gets...
Would it be cheating, though, if you went to Saudi Arabia and met that
That's
robot
what I was about to get to. Yep. What if you have evolved these to the point where they are sentient, artificial intelligent, and for all intents and purposes, a personality and a person in their own right? Now, have you crossed the line between, a pleasure bot or an individual?
Well, if you're in the Middle East, I'm going to say it's better than a goat. And I'm going to drop the topic at that.
Good.
The silence was deafening there for a second. Silence was deafening.
I knew we were on.
Yes.
I knew we were on.
Thanks, Gail.
I couldn't go there.
Thanks, Gail. Appreciate that. You deserve that angry granny picture that you got. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh my goodness. Where do you go after that one? Here's a story for you. All these major electronics companies are trying to create the perfect driverless vehicle. So in Las Vegas, and if you've walked the Las Vegas Strip, you know it's very, very long, especially when it's 100 plus degrees outside and quite warm. Or maybe you've had a couple too many. It's a very long walk at that point. Not saying that I have or anything like that. Don't know.
You've just heard it from others, right?
I heard it from a friend. To steal some of the snarky quotes from Twitter, I heard it from a friend, or I'm finding out for a friend. Anyhow, long story short, they build this shuttle, this driverless shuttle, and 2 hours into its maiden voyage, what does it do? It gets into a car accident at 15 miles an hour. Now, nobody was hurt in the 12-passenger shuttle that was full. But what is the purpose of the driverless shuttle? I mean, I realize they're wanting to get more traffic. I mean, if you've ever seen Las Vegas Boulevard from about 12 o'clock in the afternoon until about 12 o'clock at night, the road is just jam-packed with vehicles. Takes you about an hour to go 3 miles on the strip. And there's lights every block. It's ridiculous. But people are driving there because they want the photos. They want the feel of the city. It's exciting to them. The shuttle, especially a driverless shuttle, I mean, how do we trust this technology? I mean, wasn't Google's driverless car also in an accident on a highway? It's getting ridiculous, Everett, don't you think?
Yes, but all of these are in relatively early stages of testing, and it doesn't surprise me at all that there are accidents, but I can also see the applications in the future for having these. If you were to have these vehicles controlled by computers, all interacting and monitoring each other, traffic ultimately, and I'm not saying next year or even in 5 years, the human factor in driving is the biggest problem in driving, because you always have those few people who think they need to get somewhere a little bit faster, and they slow down 40 cars so that they can, veer across 3 lanes to get from the fast lane to the exit. If you had these driverless cars that were interconnected through some sort of system, and they could monitor each other and keep the traffic flow moving, I think in the long run, that would be beneficial to everybody.
I think what it's going to end up being is when you get within, say, 50 miles of a metropolitan area, let's think of how far out you have to be before you really start seeing congestion in a big city. And I don't have any really, maybe you can give me some insight on this. How in Chicago, how far out from the city center, or, where does traffic start to back up? Like how many miles? Like 40, 50 miles, 20 miles? What I'm getting at is there's going to end up being a thing where about 50?
About 50, yeah. Where it goes from kind of an open road, rural expressway, at least on the side that I'm on. Within 40 to 50 miles, you begin to start getting backups.
Okay, I think what we're going to see is they're at the epicenter of a major like Las Vegas or L.A., Chicago, New York. These huge cities that have this gridlock. At one point, they are going to have a carrier signal, and it's going to be mandatory that once you get within a certain range, you have to turn loose the car. You have to let the self-guiding, or there's going to be some kind of thing, because then think about how you could eliminate the stop and go for the most part. It could all be synchronized in real time and choreographed, and it would make getting through a city so much easier if the technology becomes reliable. But I can imagine some of the really long, I've had up to 3.5-hour commutes to work. I would have loved a driverless car. I could have napped on the way to work or something, but I think it's going to be where all these big cities, they're either going to have to ban cars, and it's all going to have to be some form of, driverless pod or something is going to have to give. And I think that's what we're seeing the beginnings of, is as these, self-driving cars are the first evolution in how we're going to get around in cities. And just think of the fewer number of accidents. You're not going to have the moron like I had in front of me on the way to work today, sitting there staring at the red light when he could have turned right. I'm trying to get to work, and this person's wool gathering and not paying attention.
Someone's got road rage.
Of those.
Somebody's got road rage. Hey, let's get to Andrew's. Andrew and Gail brought up a good point here, and Everett, you did an article on it recently on the Encounter regarding Uber and NASA coming together to try and build flying cars.
Yes, NASA is partnering with Uber to create software to essentially create these flying, much like the one that crashed there in Vegas, sort of flying cargo or shuttle, passenger shuttle vehicles. They're in the early stages right now. They've been exploring this, NASA has, for quite some time, and now they're getting to the point where they're exploring and experimenting with the software system. It's a neat idea, but the one thing that came out of it for me is Uber faces so many issues They have the transportation, the local cab companies against them. They have the sexual harassment cases pending against them. They're constantly losing money, and they can't keep a CEO. Is this going to be their venture? Are they going to move out of the rideshare kind of services and move more into transportation software?
Might be a good lateral transition for them. And plus, if we do some kind of like flying shuttle, I mean, now all of a sudden you're not thinking of traffic in a 2D way. You're thinking 3D. You can have expressways stacked up on top of each other, like a vision from, well, like in the Star Wars movies where you see traffic moving at different levels, all up and down through this column, or Blade Runner, where there were streets, but there was also airways. So it's going to, I see that happening as an inevitability, that they're going to have to do something just to control the population of cars.
All right, we're going to get into a little bit of a funny story here, because we only got about 7 minutes left. And apparently the United States Navy is apologizing like crazy, trying to get to the bottom of this because people were offended. So we all know that military fighter pilots are hot shots, they're jocks, they got ego, they got attitude, they got a chip on their shoulder. So one of these Navy fighter pilots today decides to have a little fun in the sky. Throws a little bit of air show smoke onto his aircraft. He starts out with a figure 8 in the sky. And then he does a U, or let's say a soft N, connecting to the figure 8 to look like a male body part. So here in the blue skies of the United States, there is a giant penis in air show smoke that people are offended by.
Get over it.
I understand the whole concept, okay? But considering everything that is going on in the world right now, I don't know about you guys, but I am so sick and tired of everybody getting offended by everything. I laughed my head off, and I needed a laugh today, and this was exactly what I needed. And if I would have seen it live, I probably literally would have, been killing myself laughing because it's funny. But it just goes to show how serious people have got today, Everett, where something like this, I'm offended, and now this guy could possibly lose his job as a Navy pilot because somebody is offended.
Well, you have to be careful not to offend anybody. But, I personally think it's hilarious. But I can understand the Navy's position, and Eric, you can probably speak better about this than I can. Their position of, these are pilots that the citizens of the United States have entrusted with multi-million and billion-dollar pieces of equipment, and they need to present themselves in a professional and trained manner, and that this takes away from what their mission is. I can understand that. I mean, in some of the offices and some of the people I work with, when we get stressed out, we do doodles. And we have an ongoing thing that we doodle that is entirely inappropriate. Nobody needs to know about it. It's our own private thing. And I understand that this group, they have that. Their doodle is the penis. And I can appreciate that, but I don't know if they should have done it in the sky. I don't think anybody should be offended by it. Maybe the pilot deserves a little bit of a talking to, and maybe some sort of minor discipline just to reinforce the fact that he needs to exude the professionalism of the Navy while he's flying one of their craft. But I don't think it's something that people should be so offended over that now this guy has to worry about his career.
Well, one of the things that gets me is the same people that are going to be offended are the same hypocrites that will watch Miley Cyrus getting dry humped on stage at a music award and not say anything about it, or, you know, things that are just raunchy on primetime TV, and they're not offended. But something like that, they're going to run around and get butthurt over. I think it's about time that these people grow up, and just because you're offended doesn't really mean that the rest of the world needs to stop what it's doing and let you cry on the shoulder. Be offended and get on with it.
And frankly, if you looked up at the sky and the first thing you thought was a penis when you saw that, you're a pervert and you shouldn't be offended anyway.
Right. There you go.
I don't know. I'm just so sick and tired of everybody being offended by everybody and every single thing. It's ridiculous, with a lot of what's going on. It really is ridiculous that nobody's allowed to have fun anymore because it's all offensive.
Right. But yet a movie like South Park, bigger, long, that really foul where they just push the limits of what is just absolutely horrible in a cartoon, was one of the most popular movies that year. So where are the people that are, where are these offend-a-Nazis when something like that comes around?
I thought it was great.
Well,
I loved it.
I did too. I laughed my butt off.
Everett?
It was great, but people have the choice to not see that. And I admit that a giant formation in the sky, there can be some people that will see that and they will be offended. I would hope that they're not offended by that, but maybe more upset by the questionable use of taxpayer equipment and time and dollars.
Oh, yeah, because you're talking several thousand in jet fuel for that little maneuver.
Well, either way, I thought it was absolutely hilarious. I commend the pilot for giving people a good laugh. And let's face it, who hasn't? If you're a man, okay, it's one of those sayings that if you do, you're a fool, but if you don't, you're a liar. Who hasn't gone through as a kid in the school library and drawn penises on the pages in books? Who hasn't done that?
No, never.
Who hasn't
done
that?
I drew penises on my notes during the commercial break.
Exactly. That's just the way it is. The way it is. Everett and Eric, thank you so much for bailing us out tonight to talk about some of the current news that is going on. Made it a lot of fun tonight. We do apologize about Soren Korsgaard. We're going to reschedule him, and we're going to get this show underway with him about the Zodiac Killer. I do apologize if that's what you were tuning into tonight, but the show must go on. I want to say thank you to, once again, Everett Thiemer and Eric Markham for bailing me on out for tonight, to making it so much fun and entertaining on the show. Tomorrow night on the program, Dave Cruz is back for Spaced Out Saturdays. Then on Sundays, we have Elizabeth Anglin, Cosmic Passport. It's a go. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. I will be back on Monday. Joining me on Monday, we are going to break down paranormal radio, the good, the bad, and the ugly. My guest is going to be Amy Martin from Amy on the Radio. We're going to have a lot of fun with that one, so I hope you tune on in. I'm excited about it. We got a good week next week, so make sure you stick around. I want to say thank you so much to everyone who tuned into this show, whether you're at home, whether you're in your vehicle, whether you're at work, or you're one of the lucky ones who's taking part in the chat rooms, either on Revolution Radio, on Facebook at the SOR Space Travelers Club, in Spreaker, or on Twitter. All of you are amazing. Thank you so much for sharing our shows, spreading the word and the love that we call Spaced Out Radio on a nightly basis. How can you tell the show is almost done? I want to say thank you to all of you once again for helping us get bigger and better every single night, because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you on Monday. I'm going to go find my Zen and my Chi out in the mountains of British Columbia. Hopefully I don't run into a bear or a cougar, but it would be kind of cool. You guys have a great weekend. I am out. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a good one. Be safe this weekend. Good night.